Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, a team of explorers stumbled upon a crumbling stone temple, its walls etched with cryptic symbols. Inside, they found a chamber filled with golden artifacts, but no trace of the people who left them behind. Who hid this treasure and why? This is just one of countless mysteries surrounding the lost hoards of gold and riches that ancient peoples went to extraordinary lengths to protect. From the fabled wealth of King Solomon to the hidden treasures of the Aztecs, these stories of buried gold and forgotten fortunes have captivated humanity for centuries. But what drove these ancient civilizations to conceal their wealth so meticulously? And what can their methods teach us about their cultures, their fears, and their ingenuity? In this video, we'll uncover the secrets behind some of history's most legendary treasures, exploring the ingenious hiding techniques, the tantalizing clues left behind, and the modern-day quests to recover what was lost. Along the way, you'll discover surprising truths about how ancient peoples safeguarded their riches and why some of these treasures remain hidden to this day. So let's dive into the shadows of history and uncover the mysteries of the lost hoards of gold. Ancient civilizations didn't hide their treasures on a whim. There was always a deeper reason, often rooted in survival. Imagine living in a world where your wealth could vanish overnight, stolen by invaders or destroyed in the chaos of war. For many ancient peoples, hiding their riches wasn't just a precaution, it was a necessity. Take the Vikings, for example. During the height of their raids across Europe, they would bury their plundered gold and silver in secret locations, often marked only by cryptic symbols or landmarks. These hoards weren't just stashed away for safekeeping. They were a lifeline, a way to ensure that even if their villages were overrun, their wealth could be reclaimed once the danger passed. But it wasn't just the Vikings. The Inca Empire, one of the most advanced civilizations of the Americas, faced a similar threat when Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century. Fearing the loss of their sacred gold artifacts, the Inca hid vast quantities of treasure in remote mountain caves and underground chambers. Some of these caches were so well concealed that they've never been found, leaving modern archaeologists and treasure hunters to wonder if they're still out there, waiting to be discovered. What drove these societies to go to such lengths? At its core, it was a mix of fear and foresight. In a world without banks or secure vaults, hiding wealth was the only way to protect it from marauding armies, rival factions, or even natural disasters. But there was also a psychological element at play. For many rulers, their treasures weren't just material possessions. They were symbols of power, divine favor, or cultural identity. Losing them wasn't just a financial blow, it was a threat to their very way of life. This fear of loss often led to incredibly creative and sometimes bizarre methods of concealment. From false bottom tombs to underwater caches, ancient peoples employed ingenious strategies to outwit potential thieves. And while some of these hiding places were meant to be temporary, others were designed to keep their secrets forever. So, what can these ancient practices teach us about the human instinct to protect what we value most? Whether it was gold, jewels, or sacred artifacts, the lengths these civilizations went to reveal a universal truth. When something is precious, we'll do whatever it takes to keep it safe. And as we'll see next, some of their methods were as inventive as they were effective. One of the most fascinating methods ancient peoples used to hide their treasures was by burying them in sacred grounds, places believed to be under the protection of divine forces. These locations weren't just random spots. They were chosen with great care, often tied to religious beliefs or spiritual practices. For the ancient Egyptians, the Valley of the Kings was more than just a burial site. It was a gateway to the afterlife. Pharaohs like Tutankhamun were entombed with vast amounts of gold, jewelry, and artifacts, not just as symbols of their wealth, but as offerings to the gods. The Egyptians believed that these sacred treasures would accompany their rulers into eternity, and the tombs themselves were designed to deter thieves with intricate traps and curses. Similarly, the Celts of ancient Europe often hid their hoards in sacred groves or near ritual sites. These groves were considered hallowed ground, protected by the gods and spirits of nature. To disturb such a place was thought to invite divine wrath, making them ideal hiding spots for treasures. The Celts would bury gold torques, ceremonial weapons, and other valuables deep within the earth, sometimes accompanied by offerings to appease the gods. The rituals surrounding these burials were as important as the treasures themselves, with ceremonies meant to ensure the favor of the divine and the safety of the hidden wealth. But why did these civilizations choose sacred sites over more practical hiding places? The answer lies in their worldview. For them, the spiritual realm was just as real and often more powerful than the physical world. By entrusting their treasures to the gods, they believed they were placing them under the ultimate protection. It wasn't just about hiding wealth, it was about ensuring its safety through divine intervention. Of course, not all treasures were hidden in such obvious places. While sacred grounds offered spiritual security, they were also vulnerable to those who didn't share the same beliefs. This led to the development of even more ingenious methods of concealment, some of which were so clever that they've remained undiscovered for centuries. And as we'll see next, these methods often involved blending treasures into the natural landscape in ways that would leave even the most determined treasure hunters baffled. Ancient peoples didn't just rely on sacred grounds to hide their treasures, they also turned to the natural world for inspiration. Mountains, caves, rivers, and forests became their allies in the art of concealment. These natural landmarks offered something man-made structures couldn't, the perfect blend of inaccessibility and camouflage. Imagine a treasure hunter standing at the mouth of a dark, winding cave or staring up at a sheer cliff face. The sheer difficulty of reaching these places made them ideal hiding spots, and ancient civilizations knew it. Take the legendary gold of the Nibelungs, for example. This treasure, steeped in myth and folklore, was said to have been hidden in the depths of the Rhine River. According to legend, the gold was cursed, and those who sought it faced dire consequences. While the story may be shrouded in myth, it reflects a very real practice, hiding valuables in rivers and lakes. Water was a natural barrier, making it nearly impossible for thieves to recover submerged treasures without specialized tools or knowledge. Caves were another popular choice, especially in regions with rugged terrain. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in the mid-20th century, were hidden in remote caves near Qumran, where they remained untouched for over 2,000 years. These caves were not only difficult to access, but also provided a stable environment that preserved the scrolls from decay. Similarly, ancient peoples in Central Asia and the Middle East often used caves to stash gold, jewelry, and other valuables, knowing that the natural formations would deter all but the most determined looters. Mountains, too, played a key role in the art of concealment. The Inca, for instance, hid vast quantities of gold in the Andes, using the treacherous terrain to their advantage. Some of these caches were placed at such high altitudes that even today, reaching them requires advanced climbing skills and equipment. The Inca understood that the mountains were not just physical barriers, but also psychological ones. Few would dare to venture into such perilous landscapes in search of treasure. But why were these natural landmarks so effective? Beyond their physical challenges, they carried an air of mystery and danger. A dark cave or a rushing river wasn't just a hiding place, it was a deterrent, a place where the unknown loomed large. Ancient peoples tapped into this fear, using it to protect their treasures from those who might seek to steal them. And yet, even these methods weren't foolproof. Over time, some of these hidden hoards were discovered, either by accident or through sheer determination. but many remain lost, their secrets buried beneath layers of earth, water, and time. As we'll see next, some civilizations took concealment to an entirely new level, using methods so unexpected and ingenious that they've left modern treasure hunters scratching their heads. While natural landmarks and sacred grounds offered protection, some ancient civilizations took treasure concealment to an entirely new level, engineering elaborate booby traps and crafting false leads to outwit even the most determined thieves. These weren't just physical barriers, they were psychological masterpieces designed to confuse, intimidate, and sometimes even kill those who dared to trespass. Consider the labyrinthine tombs of ancient Egypt, the pyramids and burial chambers of pharaohs like Khufu and Ramses II weren't just grand monuments to their power, they were also fortresses of deception. Hidden passageways, false walls, and dead-end corridors were meticulously constructed to disorient tomb raiders. Some chambers were rigged with falling stones or concealed pits, while others were filled with toxic gases or cursed inscriptions meant to strike fear into the hearts of intruders. The famous curse of Tutankhamun's tomb, for instance, wasn't just a myth. It was part of a broader strategy to deter would-be thieves by playing on their superstitions. But the Egyptians weren't alone in their use of psychological warfare. In ancient China, the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, guarded by the Terracotta Army, was said to be surrounded by rivers of liquid mercury, a deadly deterrent to anyone attempting to breach its defenses. The emperor's architects also created a network of false burial chambers, each filled with decoy treasures to mislead grave robbers. These decoys weren't just random objects, they were carefully crafted replicas designed to look valuable enough to distract from the real treasures hidden deeper within the tomb. Even the ancient Greeks and Romans employed similar tactics. The legendary Labyrinth of King Minos, with its winding corridors and the fearsome Minotaur at its center, may have been inspired by real-life structures designed to protect treasures. These labyrinths weren't just physical traps, they were mental puzzles meant to exhaust and confuse anyone who entered. What made these methods so effective wasn't just their complexity, it was the way they played on human psychology. Fear, greed, and curiosity were all exploited to keep intruders at bay. A thief might spend hours navigating a maze only to find themselves back where they started, or worse, face to face with a deadly trap. And for those who did manage to bypass the physical barriers, the threat of curses or divine retribution often loomed large, planting seeds of doubt that could turn even the bravest raider away. These ancient innovations reveal a profound understanding of both engineering and human nature. But as we'll see next, the story of treasure concealment doesn't end with booby traps and false leads. Some civilizations took their ingenuity even further, using technology and innovation to create hiding places so advanced that they remain unsolved mysteries to this day. Ancient civilizations didn't just rely on natural landmarks or psychological tricks to protect their treasures. They also turned to advanced engineering, creating hidden chambers and secret compartments that were nothing short of architectural marvels. These structures weren't just about hiding wealth, they were feats of ingenuity designed to outlast time itself. Take the Egyptian pyramids, for example. Beyond their towering exteriors and grand burial chambers, these monuments are riddled with hidden passageways and concealed rooms. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, is a labyrinth of narrow shafts, false walls, and secret compartments. Some of these hidden spaces were so well designed that they remained undiscovered for thousands of years. In fact, modern archaeologists are still uncovering new chambers within these ancient structures, using cutting-edge technology like ground-penetrating radar and 3D mapping. These discoveries reveal just how sophisticated the Egyptians were in their efforts to safeguard their treasures. But the Egyptians weren't the only ones to master the art of hidden architecture. In Mesopotamia, the temples of ancient Babylon and Assyria were equipped with intricate vaults and concealed storage rooms. These spaces were often built beneath the main structures, accessible only through hidden entrances or trapdoors. The Mesopotamians used advanced techniques like corbelled arches and waterproofing to ensure these chambers remained secure and intact, even in the face of floods or invasions. What's truly remarkable about these designs is how they blend form and function. The hidden chambers weren't just practical, they were also symbolic. In many cases, they were designed to reflect the spiritual beliefs of the civilization, with layouts that mirrored celestial patterns or sacred geometries. For the Egyptians, the alignment of hidden rooms with the stars was thought to ensure the pharaoh's safe passage to the afterlife. For the Mesopotamians, the placement of vaults beneath temples reinforced the connection between earthly wealth and divine favor. These engineering feats weren't just about keeping treasures safe, they were about preserving a legacy. The architects of these hidden chambers understood that their work would outlive them, and they built with an eye toward eternity. Today, their creations continue to baffle and inspire, reminding us of the incredible ingenuity of ancient peoples. And yet, not all treasures were hidden in such elaborate ways. Some were concealed in the most unexpected places, right under the noses of those who sought them. This leads us to the next method, hiding treasures in plain sight, a strategy that relied on deception and clever misdirection to keep valuables safe. Sometimes the best way to hide something valuable is to make it look completely ordinary. Ancient peoples mastered the art of camouflage, disguising their treasures as everyday objects or blending them seamlessly into their surroundings. This method relied on one simple principle: if it doesn't look valuable, no one will think to take it. Take the ancient Greeks, for instance. They were known to hide gold coins and jewelry inside plain clay pots or amphorae vessels typically used for storing oil, grain, or wine. To the untrained eye, these containers were nothing special, just common household items. But beneath their unassuming exteriors lay fortunes in gold and silver, carefully concealed to avoid detection. This clever tactic allowed families to protect their wealth during times of war or upheaval, knowing that invaders would likely overlook such mundane objects. The Romans took this idea even further, crafting hollow statues and furniture with secret compartments. A seemingly ordinary wooden chair or a bronze figurine might contain a hidden cavity filled with precious gems or coins. These disguised treasures were often placed in plain sight, blending into the decor of a home or temple. The brilliance of this method lay in its simplicity. By making the treasure part of the everyday environment, it became invisible to those who didn't know what to look for. In ancient China, artisans created intricate puzzle boxes and nested containers to hide valuables. These objects were designed to look like simple trinkets or decorative pieces, but they required a specific sequence of movements to unlock. Only those who knew the secret could access the treasures inside, making them virtually undetectable to thieves. What made these methods so effective was their reliance on deception and the element of surprise. By disguising treasures as ordinary objects, ancient peoples turned the very idea of value on its head. A thief might ransack a home or temple, completely overlooking the fortune hidden in plain sight. But camouflage wasn't the only way ancient civilizations concealed their wealth. Some turned to the natural world, using elements like water, earth, and even plants to hide their treasures in ways that were both ingenious and nearly impossible to detect. And as we'll see next, these methods took the art of concealment to an entirely new level. Water has always held a mysterious allure, and for ancient peoples, it became more than just a life-giving resource. It was a perfect hiding place. Submerging treasures in lakes, rivers, or even the ocean offered a unique combination of secrecy and protection. Water, with its unpredictable currents and murky depths, created a natural barrier that few could overcome. And for those who dared to hide their wealth beneath the waves, the results were often as ingenious as they were enduring. One of the most famous examples of this practice comes from the Vikings, who frequently buried their hoards near rivers or lakes. But they didn't stop there. Some of their most valuable treasures were thrown directly into the water as offerings to the gods. These submerged offerings, often consisting of gold, silver, and ceremonial weapons, were believed to secure divine favor or ensure victory in battle. Over time, these treasures sank into the silt and mud, where they remained hidden for centuries. Today, archaeologists continue to uncover these watery caches, revealing glimpses of a culture that saw water as both a protector and a sacred medium. The ocean, too, became a vast repository for hidden wealth. Sunken ships laden with gold, jewels, and other treasures are perhaps the most iconic examples of this method. The Spanish galleons that sank during the Age of Exploration, for instance, carried fortunes in gold and silver from the New World. Many of these ships were lost to storms, pirates, or navigational errors, their treasures sinking to the ocean floor. The challenge of recovering these submerged hoards has captivated treasure hunters for centuries, with modern technology like sonar and underwater drones making it possible to locate and retrieve some of these long-lost riches. But water wasn't just a practical hiding place, it was also steeped in myth and legend. The story of the Rhine gold, a legendary treasure said to be hidden in the depths of the Rhine River, is a prime example. According to folklore, the gold was cursed, and anyone who tried to claim it would face dire consequences. This blend of myth and reality added an extra layer of protection, as the fear of divine retribution kept many would-be treasure hunters at bay. Recovering treasures from water, however, is no easy feat. The challenges are immense. Shifting currents, corrosive saltwater, and the sheer depth of the ocean all make retrieval a daunting task. Even with modern technology, many submerged treasures remain out of reach, their secrets locked beneath the waves. This method of concealment reveals a fascinating truth about ancient peoples. They understood the power of nature to both protect and obscure. By entrusting their treasures to the water, they ensured that their wealth would remain hidden, sometimes forever. And as we'll see next, some civilizations took this idea even further, hiding their treasures in places so unexpected that they defy imagination. Among the most haunting and effective methods of hiding treasures was the practice of burying them in unmarked or mass graves. This approach wasn't just about concealment, it was about erasing all traces of the treasure's existence. By blending wealth with the dead, ancient peoples created hiding places that were not only difficult to find but also deeply unsettling to disturb. Consider the burial customs of ancient nomadic tribes, such as the Scythians of the Eurasian steppes. These fierce warriors were known for their elaborate burial mounds or kurgans, which often contained vast quantities of gold, weapons, and ceremonial objects. But not all Scythian graves were marked. Some were deliberately left unadorned, blending into the landscape to avoid drawing attention. These unmarked graves were often forgotten over time, their treasures left undisturbed for centuries. The Scythians understood that the best way to protect their wealth was to make it invisible both to the living and to future generations. Similarly, in medieval Europe, warriors and nobles sometimes buried their valuables in mass graves during times of war or invasion. These graves, often hastily dug and unmarked, served as temporary hiding places for gold, silver, and other treasures. The chaos of battle ensured that few, if any, would remember the exact location of these caches. Over time, the graves were lost to history, their secrets buried beneath layers of earth and memory. What made this method so effective was its simplicity. By tying treasures to the dead, ancient peoples tapped into a universal taboo, the fear of disturbing the resting place of the deceased. This psychological barrier, combined with the physical challenge of locating unmarked graves, made these hiding places nearly impenetrable. Even if someone stumbled upon a grave, the moral weight of disturbing it often outweighed the potential reward, but the story doesn't end there. While unmarked graves were effective in the short term, they also posed a problem. How could the original owners or their descendants retrieve the treasure if even they couldn't find it? This dilemma led to the development of another layer of concealment: written records and maps. These documents, often encoded or hidden themselves, provided clues to the location of buried treasures. Yet, as we'll see next, even these records were designed to be as elusive as the treasures they described. Ancient peoples didn't just rely on physical barriers or clever disguises to protect their treasures, they also turned to the power of knowledge. Encrypted maps, cryptic codes, and mysterious symbols became their tools for safeguarding the locations of hidden wealth. These weren't just random scribbles or markings, they were carefully crafted puzzles designed to be understood only by those who held the key. Take the ancient Egyptians, for example. Their hieroglyphs, while often seen as a form of writing, also served as a sophisticated code. Certain inscriptions found in tombs and temples contained hidden messages pointing to the locations of buried treasures. These messages were often layered with symbolic meanings, making them indecipherable to anyone outside the inner circle of priests or rulers. The Rosetta Stone, which famously unlocked the secrets of Egyptian hieroglyphs, is a testament to how complex and intentional these codes could be. Similarly, the Vikings used runes and ancient alphabet not just for communication, but also for marking the locations of their hoards. Some rune stones found across Scandinavia bear cryptic inscriptions that scholars believe may point to hidden treasures. These runes weren't just letters, they were part of a larger system of symbols and codes designed to confuse outsiders while guiding those who knew how to read them. In medieval Europe, treasure maps became an art form in their own right. These maps, often drawn on parchment or carved into stone, were filled with cryptic symbols and riddles. The famous Beale ciphers, a set of encrypted documents said to reveal the location of a buried treasure in Virginia, are a modern example of this ancient practice. While the authenticity of the Beale ciphers is debated, they illustrate how codes and maps have long been used to protect secrets. What made these encrypted systems so effective was their exclusivity. Only a select few, often trusted advisors, priests, or family members were privy to the knowledge needed to decode them. This ensured that even if a map or inscription fell into the wrong hands, it would remain a mystery. The codes weren't just about hiding information, they were about controlling access to it. But encrypted maps and codes weren't the only way ancient peoples safeguarded their treasures. Some civilizations took an even more personal approach, entrusting their wealth to living guardians, individuals sworn to protect the secrets of the hidden hoards. And as we'll see next, these guardians often played a role as mysterious and enduring as the treasures they protected. For some ancient civilizations, the best way to protect their treasures wasn't just about clever engineering or natural barriers, it was about people. Living guardians, whether loyal servants, trusted warriors, or even trained animals, became the ultimate line of defense for hidden hoards. These guardians weren't just watchmen, they were living embodiments of secrecy, sworn to protect the treasures with their lives. Take the ancient Persians, for example. They often entrusted their most valuable treasures to a select group of elite warriors known as the Immortals. These soldiers were not only skilled in combat but also bound by unbreakable oaths of loyalty. Their presence alone was enough to deter most would-be thieves, and their knowledge of the treasure's location was passed down through generations, ensuring its protection long after the original owners were gone. In other cultures, animals played a surprising role in guarding hidden wealth. The ancient Egyptians, for instance, were known to use trained baboons and even crocodiles to protect sacred sites and treasure caches. These animals, revered for their strength and ferocity, served as both physical deterrents and symbols of divine protection. the idea was simple. Anyone attempting to steal the treasure would have to face not just the wrath of the gods, but also the jaws of a deadly guardian. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of these living guardians was the psychological weight they carried. In many cases, the guardians themselves were seen as extensions of the treasure's sacred or cursed nature. The infamous curse of Tutankhamun's tomb, for example, wasn't just a warning carved into stone, it was a belief deeply ingrained in the culture. When the tomb was opened in the early 20th century, the sudden deaths of several expedition members fueled rumors of a curse, creating a chilling legacy that still lingers today. This blend of myth and reality made the idea of disturbing such treasures unthinkable for many. Curses, in particular, were a powerful tool in the ancient world. From the tombs of Egypt to the burial mounds of the Celts, curses were inscribed on walls, whispered in rituals, and woven into the very fabric of the treasure's story. These weren't just empty threats, they were designed to strike fear into the hearts of intruders, playing on their deepest superstitions. The psychological impact of a curse could be as effective as any physical barrier, turning even the bravest treasure hunter away. What these practices reveal is a profound understanding of human nature. Ancient peoples knew that fear, loyalty, and belief could be just as powerful as locks and traps. By combining physical guardians with the intangible power of curses, they created a multi-layered defense system that was nearly impossible to breach. And yet, not all treasures were hidden behind such elaborate defenses. Some were concealed in the most unexpected places, right under the noses of those who sought them. This leads us to the next method, hiding treasures in plain sight, a strategy that relied on deception and clever misdirection to keep valuables safe. Ancient civilizations didn't just hide their treasures in the ground or beneath the waves, they also wove them into the very fabric of their buildings. Walls, floors, and ceilings became secret vaults, their permanence offering a unique kind of protection. By integrating wealth into the architecture itself, these societies created hiding places that were not only secure but also invisible to the untrained eye. Take the temples of ancient India, for example. Many of these sacred structures were built with hidden compartments in their walls, designed to store gold, jewels, and religious artifacts. These compartments were often concealed behind intricate carvings or false panels, blending seamlessly into the temple's design. To an outsider, the walls appeared ordinary, but to those in the know, they held fortunes. The permanence of stone and mortar ensured that these treasures would remain hidden for centuries, safe from looters and invaders. In ancient Persia, the palaces of kings were no less ingenious. Gold-laden pillars hollowed out to hold precious gems and coins were a common feature. These pillars weren't just decorative, they were functional, serving as both symbols of wealth and secure storage. The sheer scale of these structures made it nearly impossible for thieves to dismantle them, and the treasures within remained untouched for generations. Even the Romans, masters of engineering, used their architectural prowess to hide wealth. Some villas were built with secret chambers beneath their floors, accessible only through hidden trapdoors. These chambers were often used to store family heirlooms or emergency funds, ensuring that even if the villa was ransacked, the most valuable items would remain safe. What made these methods so effective was their reliance on the permanence of architecture. Unlike a buried hoard or a submerged cache, a building structure was meant to last. By embedding treasures within walls or pillars, ancient peoples ensured that their wealth would be protected not just for years, but for centuries. But even the most ingenious hiding places weren't immune to the forces of nature. Earthquakes, floods, and fires could destroy buildings, burying their secrets beneath rubble or ash. In some cases, these disasters became the ultimate concealers, hiding treasures so thoroughly that they were lost to history. This interplay between human ingenuity and natural forces reveals a fascinating truth. No matter how carefully a treasure was hidden, it was always at the mercy of time and chance. And as we'll see next, some of the most enduring mysteries of hidden wealth are the ones shaped by the very elements that sought to destroy them. Natural disasters have always been forces of immense power capable of reshaping landscapes, obliterating cities, and rewriting history. But for ancient peoples, these catastrophic events also became unexpected allies in the art of treasure concealment. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and floods didn't just destroy, they also buried, creating accidental hiding spots that have baffled historians and treasure hunters for centuries. Take the ancient city of Pompeii, for example. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, it buried the city under layers of ash and pumice, preserving it in a tragic time capsule. Among the ruins, archaeologists have uncovered hidden caches of gold coins, jewelry, and household treasures, wealth that residents had stashed away in a desperate attempt to save it from the disaster. The eruption didn't just destroy Pompeii, it sealed its secrets, leaving them untouched for nearly 2,000 years. Similarly, earthquakes have played a surprising role in hiding treasures. In ancient Greece, the city of Helike was swallowed by the sea during a massive earthquake in 373 BC. The city, once a thriving hub of trade and culture, vanished beneath the waves, taking its wealth with it. For centuries, the location of Helike remained a mystery, its treasures lost to the depths. It wasn't until the late 20th century that archaeologists discovered its remains, buried under layers of sediment and water. Floods, too, have been both destroyers and concealers. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers were known to change course unpredictably, sweeping away entire settlements and burying them under layers of silt. These sudden shifts often left treasures hidden beneath the earth, their locations forgotten as new settlements rose elsewhere. The unpredictability of these rivers made them ideal hiding places, as even the original owners might struggle to find their buried wealth after the waters receded. What makes these natural disasters so fascinating as concealment methods is their sheer unpredictability. Unlike deliberate hiding spots, these accidental caches were created by forces beyond human control. They weren't just hiding places, they were time capsules, preserving treasures in moments of chaos and upheaval. But while natural disasters could hide treasures effectively, they also made them nearly impossible to recover. The very forces that concealed wealth, ash, water, and shifting earth also made it inaccessible, even to those who knew where to look. This unpredictability adds an extra layer of mystery to these lost hoards, leaving us to wonder how many treasures still lie buried, waiting to be discovered. As we'll see next, ancient peoples didn't always rely on chance to protect their wealth. Some turned to human ingenuity, crafting elaborate false trails and decoys to lead treasure hunters astray. These methods, born of creativity and cunning, reveal yet another layer of the ancient art of concealment. Ancient peoples didn't just rely on physical barriers or clever disguises to protect their treasures, they also mastered the art of deception. False trails and misinformation became powerful tools in their arsenal, designed to mislead and confuse anyone who dared to seek their hidden wealth. These tactics weren't just about hiding treasures, they were about creating a labyrinth of lies that would lead treasure hunters astray, often sending them on wild goose chases that ended in frustration or danger. One of the most common methods was the creation of fake maps. These weren't just crude drawings, they were elaborate works of art filled with cryptic symbols, misleading landmarks, and tantalizing clues. The goal was to make the map believable enough to lure treasure hunters into wasting time and resources chasing shadows. For example, during the Middle Ages, European explorers often encountered maps that claimed to lead to the fabled riches of El Dorado or the Seven Cities of Gold. Many of these maps were deliberately falsified, created by rival factions or even the treasure owners themselves to divert attention from the real locations. Legends and folklore also played a key role in spreading misinformation. Stories of cursed treasures, haunted burial grounds, or mythical guardians were often exaggerated or entirely fabricated to deter would-be thieves. The tale of the Oak Island Money Pit, a supposed treasure site in Nova Scotia, is a classic example. For centuries, treasure hunters have been drawn to the island by stories of buried pirate gold, only to find themselves entangled in a web of booby traps and dead ends. While the origins of the legend remain unclear, it's possible that the story itself was a deliberate ruse, designed to keep treasure seekers occupied while the real hoard remained hidden elsewhere. But why go to such lengths to create false trails? The answer lies in the psychology of treasure hunting. Ancient peoples understood that greed and curiosity could be powerful motivators. By feeding these desires with tantalizing clues and false promises, they could manipulate treasure hunters into chasing phantoms, leaving the real treasures undisturbed. This strategy wasn't just about protecting wealth, it was about controlling the narrative, ensuring that the secrets of the hidden hoards remained safe. For modern explorers, these false trails pose a unique challenge. Deciphering fact from fiction requires not just skill and patience, but also a deep understanding of the culture and context behind the clues. Even with advanced technology, separating the real treasures from the elaborate hoaxes can feel like navigating a maze with no exit. And yet, some treasures were never meant to be found at all. These were the hoards hidden with such care and secrecy that their locations were known only to a select few, or perhaps to no one at all. This leads us to the next method: treasures concealed with the intention of being lost forever, their secrets buried so deeply that they defy discovery. Some treasures were never meant to be found. Unlike hoards hidden for safekeeping or future retrieval, certain ancient treasures were concealed with the deliberate intention of remaining lost forever. These were not just acts of preservation, they were acts of devotion, sacrifice, or even defiance, designed to ensure that the wealth would never fall into the wrong hands or be disturbed by the living. One of the most striking examples of this practice comes from the burial traditions of ancient kings. In many cultures, rulers were entombed with vast amounts of gold, jewels, and artifacts, not just as symbols of their power, but as offerings to accompany them into the afterlife. The tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered in the early 20th century, is a prime example. The young pharaoh was buried with an astonishing array of treasures, from golden chariots to intricately crafted jewelry, all meant to serve him in the next world. But these treasures were also hidden deep within the Valley of the Kings, in a tomb designed to deter grave robbers with false passages and sealed chambers. The Egyptians believed that disturbing such a tomb would bring divine retribution, ensuring that the treasures would remain untouched for eternity. Similarly, the ancient Maya often buried their rulers with offerings of jade, obsidian, and other precious materials in elaborate tombs beneath their pyramids. These tombs were not just hidden, they were sealed with layers of stone and earth, making them nearly impossible to access. The Maya saw these offerings as essential for the ruler's journey to the afterlife, and the act of sealing the tomb was a sacred ritual meant to protect both the treasures and the spiritual balance of the world. But it wasn't just kings and rulers who hid treasures with the intention of never recovering them. In many cultures, offerings to gods or spirits were placed in locations so remote or dangerous that retrieval was unthinkable. The Inca, for instance, offered gold and silver to their mountain gods by throwing them into high-altitude lakes or burying them in the icy peaks of the Andes. These offerings were not just gifts, they were acts of devotion meant to secure the favor of the gods. The remoteness of these locations ensured that the treasures would remain undisturbed, their secrets locked away by the very forces of nature. What drove these civilizations to hide their treasures so permanently? At its core, it was a combination of spiritual belief and practical necessity. For many ancient peoples, wealth was not just a material possession, it was a sacred trust tied to their identity, their gods, and their understanding of the universe. To disturb these treasures was to risk angering the divine or upsetting the natural order. And in a world where wealth could be a target for invaders or rival factions, hiding it forever was sometimes the only way to ensure its safety. Today, these permanently hidden treasures remain some of the most tantalizing mysteries of the ancient world. While modern technology has allowed us to uncover some of these lost hoards, many still lie hidden, their locations known only to the gods or the earth itself. And as we'll see next, the quest to find these treasures has become a modern obsession, blending archaeology, adventure, and the enduring allure of the unknown. The quest to uncover ancient treasures is far from over. Today, modern treasure hunters and archaeologists are using cutting-edge technology and centuries-old clues to bring lost hoards back into the light. From the depths of the ocean to the heart of forgotten ruins, these efforts are rewriting history and reigniting our fascination with the past. One of the most exciting developments in recent years has been the discovery of Viking hoards across Europe. In 2014, a metal detectorist in Scotland stumbled upon a cache of over 100 silver artifacts, including arm rings and ingots, buried for over 1,000 years. This find, known as the Galloway Hoard, offered a rare glimpse into the Viking world, revealing not just their wealth but also their intricate trade networks and craftsmanship. Such discoveries remind us that even the most carefully hidden treasures can resurface, often in the most unexpected ways. But it's not just land-based treasures that are being uncovered. The ocean, with its vast and mysterious depths, continues to yield astonishing finds. In 2015, the wreck of the San Jose, a Spanish galleon sunk off the coast of Colombia in 1708, was located using advanced sonar technology. The ship, carrying an estimated $17 billion worth of gold, silver, and emeralds, had lain undisturbed for over 300 years. Its discovery sparked both excitement and debate, raising questions about who has the right to claim such treasures and how they should be preserved. Modern treasure hunters rely on a mix of old-fashioned intuition and state-of-the-art tools. Ground-penetrating radar, underwater drones, and 3D mapping have revolutionized the search for hidden wealth, allowing explorers to peer beneath the Earth's surface or scan the ocean floor with unprecedented precision. Yet, even with these advancements, the hunt remains as much about patience and perseverance as it is about technology. However, the pursuit of ancient treasures isn't without its ethical dilemmas. Should these artifacts be returned to their countries of origin, or do they belong to whoever finds them? How do we balance the thrill of discovery with the need to preserve cultural heritage? These questions have sparked heated debates, particularly as more treasures are unearthed in regions with complex histories of colonization and conflict. Despite these challenges, the allure of lost hoards remains as strong as ever. Each discovery offers a tangible connection to the past, shedding light on the lives, beliefs, and struggles of those who came before us. Whether it's a Viking hoard buried in a farmer's field or a sunken galleon resting on the ocean floor, these treasures remind us that history is not just a story, it's a puzzle waiting to be solved. And as we continue to uncover these hidden riches, we're not just finding gold and jewels, we're uncovering the secrets of humanity itself. The next time you hear about a treasure hunt, remember, it's not just about the wealth. It's about the stories, the mysteries, and the enduring quest to understand who we are and where we came from. From sacred burial grounds to the depths of rivers and the intricate labyrinths of ancient architecture, the methods ancient peoples used to hide their treasures were as varied as they were ingenious. These weren't just acts of concealment, they were masterpieces of creativity, blending practicality with cultural and spiritual significance. Whether it was the Egyptians entombing their pharaohs with golden riches, the Vikings sinking offerings into rivers, or the Inca sealing treasures in the icy peaks of the Andes, each method reveals a deep understanding of both human nature and the natural world. These practices weren't just about protecting wealth, they were about preserving identity, power, and belief. For many civilizations, treasures were more than gold and jewels. They were symbols of divine favor, cultural heritage, or even a connection to the afterlife. The lengths they went to safeguard these treasures speak volumes about what they valued most, offering us a window into their worldviews and priorities. Yet, despite centuries of exploration and discovery, many of these hidden hoards remain elusive. The Earth still holds countless secrets, from unmarked graves to submerged shipwrecks, each one a tantalizing mystery waiting to be unraveled. Modern technology has brought us closer than ever to uncovering these treasures, but the challenges, whether physical, ethical, or psychological, remind us that the past is not easily surrendered. So, what other secrets might still be waiting to be discovered? Could there be a lost city buried beneath the sands, a forgotten temple hidden in the jungle, or a sunken galleon resting in the ocean's depths? The possibilities are endless, and the thrill of the hunt continues to captivate us, blending history, adventure, and the enduring allure of the unknown. What do you think? Are there treasures out there that will never be found, or will modern technology eventually unlock every secret? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your theories and ideas. And if you're as fascinated by these historical mysteries as we are, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden corners of our past. Who knows, the next great discovery could be just around the corner, waiting for someone like you to uncover it. Until then, keep wondering, keep exploring, and remember, the greatest treasures aren't always made of gold. They're the stories we uncover along the way.